Discuss the implications of these three CAG reports and the road ahead. Joining us now is Prashant Bhushan, R. Jagannathan, the editor of First Post, and our very own economic policy editor, Siddharth Ravi. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Prashant Bhushan, straight to you. Before I get into the charges and the claims that the government has put forward to counter those charges, what is your course of action going to be? Because people that we've been speaking to suggest that this is looking eerily similar to what happened with the 2G scam. Are you going to be filing a PIL in this matter as well?
Well, we will certainly consider that, but you must remember that PILs in the courts usually take a long time, and these are matters which now need to be swiftly investigated. That is why we had taken up this issue about the investigation of this coal scam and many other scams involving 15 cabinet ministers by an independent investigative agency. We had said that if there had been an independent Lokpal in place, they could have investigated these scams. But in the absence of the Lokpal, at least an independent special investigation team headed by
the bottom line, you haven't made up your mind on whether you are going to file a PIL in this matter or not?
No, not yet. Because you see, these are both legal as well as political issues. It is not necessary that every issue must necessarily be taken to the court, so though that is certainly one course of action available to people. The point is that these are also political issues in which all the people in this country have a stake, and that is why a major public agitation had been launched on this issue, that there must be and there needs to be.
While there is consensus that we need to put in place checks and balances, we need to strengthen our systems, we need to strengthen our regulators, there is also now a sense coming in, especially from corporate India, that we are going back and looking at policy decisions, reopening policy decisions that took place a decade ago, sometimes even more than a decade ago. We've gotten into this business of retrospectively looking at decisions that were taken. Is this really healthy for India at this point in time to go down this retrospective route?
Well, if the policy for the last decade or more was that the wealth of this country or very valuable natural resources worth lakhs of crores should be handed over to private companies or private individuals for a song so that they could make huge windfall gains at the expense of the public exchequer, then that policy was clearly unconstitutional, quite apart from being hugely detrimental to public interest and leading to, apart from other things, enormous corruption and the creation of a corrupt mafia in this country, which has held democracy to ransom in this country. You've seen the example of the Reddy brothers, who are above the law, above every kind of constitutional authority. Virtually, they only went to jail because finally the Supreme Court intervened in their case. Otherwise, they were holding the chief minister to ransom. They have bribed 3 judges to secure bail, etc. So what are we heading towards? I mean, this kind of...
I get your point, but let me go across to R. Jagannathan. Jaggi, the point that corporate India is making and the point that the government is making, and I'm forced to play devil's advocate here because we don't have a government representative, but for instance, in the coal instance, the clearances or the allocation was done by a steering committee. The steering committee was put in place since 1993. We know that a whole bunch of things should have happened in the interim. They didn't happen, but even if you look at the Dial situation, there is a Supreme Court order which actually upheld the validity of the development fee which was imposed by the AERA. So corporate India is saying that we're worsening the investment climate and there has to be some end to retrospectively looking at these things.
Yes, I think corporate India has a different set of concerns, but if a lot of mistakes have happened over 10 years, it's important for the CAG to point out that you were non-transparent in this. Some kind of crony deals could have happened here, some sweetheart deals have happened here, and so to the extent that CAG is signaling these things, that is, it's important for the government to take it on board. Even if there is a potential for a scam, not all of these will actually amount to a scam, because the government decides policy on the basis basis of two different things. One is the revenue consideration, and the other is public policy requirements. You might want power at a cheap rate, so you might want to sell coal at a cheap rate. But these should be clearly documented, and the process should be transparent.
You've actually preempted my question and hit the the point that I was trying to make. This business of everything being a scam. There is every policy decision that has been taken, whether it's coal, it's airport privatization, it's the UMPPs. Everything now, that the perception seems to be that everything is a scam.
Yeah, I think given the public record of our politicians and businessmen, I think everybody can be forgiven for thinking that everything is a scam. But what the CAG is essentially saying is not that everything that happened with coal block allocation or DIAL or the UMPPs is a scam, but that given the kind of processes you followed, the chances of a scam are very high, and there could be some scams. And this is what the government needs to look at, and probably even people like Prashant should signal if they have more evidence in this coal, and that is what I think we need to look at it, rather than to say that 1.86 lakhs crore is the scam. You can't say that.
Siddharth Rabi, you've been speaking with the government, you've been speaking with the companies that have actually been named in these three CAG reports. What do you make of this and the back and forth of the charges and the counter charges and the claims and the counter claims?
Well, the draft report started as far as coal is concerned with a number at around 10.67 lakh crore. Then government companies were left out of it. Only open cast mines have been taken into account. So if you were to go into the CAG's arithmetic, and this is always very important, although many people won't agree with this, I believe that the CAG has through these reports and some other reports demonstrated a very fixed mindset when it comes to valuing everything, even before understanding the economic logic and public interest linkages and the time point in history at which that decision was taken. The fact is, if you were to today take out government companies, there is a valid point. Coal India has failed to achieve production targets consistently. The CAG report itself says that there is actually a 10% decline in coal production. You have the government of India exercising presidential directive power to ensure that Coal India goes ahead and supplies power. So essentially, I think there are some arguments against this report, but as far as the private companies are concerned, the real fear, according to some of them, is will this translate into a 2G spectrum kind of action with the likes of Mr. Bhushan perhaps, although he seems to now be backtracking, go ahead and seek cancellation of these leases, because that is what is the crucial outcome.
Well, that is the big fear at this point in time, but Mr. Bhushan very clearly saying he hasn't made up his mind on whether he's going to go down the PIL route as he did in the 2G scam. Let's just hope this doesn't lead to an end or an impasse of the monsoon session of Parliament. Let's hope legislative business does get done. There are crucial bills that are currently pending, and let's hope the prescriptions that the CAG has provided in those three reports actually make for more robust